Hey everybody, it's Greg Harrelson here. Of course, it is that time. As I say every time on Tuesday, almost, I should be thinking in Myrtle Beach, it's almost lunchtime because right after this, I go and get me some lunch. But anyways, it's that time for us to have a conversation on the Real Geeks Mastermind group here on Facebook. Today, I'm going to talk about what I promised to talk about last week, but I got a little bit sidetracked and decided to address some of the NAR conversations that are out there. And I know that that's going to continue to be a topic, over time. How are we going to navigate, the settlement, mandates, et cetera. So there's a lot to continue to be unpacked on a weekly basis. And I unpacked some of it last week, but this week I'm going to get back onto topic and I'm going to talk about 7 ways to increase buyer conversion. And I think, it's a perfect timing because, when we think about the NAR settlement, one of the things that we got to be thinking about is, how do we optimize the process of working with buyers? How do we set more buyer appointments? How do we get more buyers to sign buyer agency agreements? Because that's going to be the key. I think it's going to be a critical part of one's success is going to be who's going to be able to get them to sign buyer agency agreements first. Because everybody's going to have to get them to sign a buyer agency agreement, but who is going to get them to sign those first? The person who gets them to sign first pretty much blocks all the other agents in their marketplace from working with that buyer. So, there is actually some silver lining inside of that change. Again, we'll talk about that more in the future. Let's talk about some ways that we can increase conversion. I'm just going to jump right into it so that we don't have to, be on here for too long. I want to just go ahead and make sure that it's filled with tactics or strategies that you can take away. Smart list. Using smart list is a great way to increase your conversion with your database. Now, smart lists, most of you, if you know what smart lists are, most of you are not, you're probably thinking, well, that doesn't seem like a Real Geeks conversation, meaning like, well, where's the smart list? The smart list is what I call the advanced search filters. So, you can set up advanced search filters. And to me, the important thing about the value of the advanced search filters is that builds through automation. I can let the system automatically build a list. And based on the filters that I create for that list, for the advanced search filters, the filters that I designate determine kind of who's on that list, what are the characteristics. So then I should know the appropriate actions to take based on that list, the advanced search criteria. I call that a smart list because I can let the system create the list, and then that list tells me what series of events, what strategies, what techniques, what should I be doing with that particular list. Like an example of a smart list is maybe you could create a smart list, an advanced search filter that says, I want to see every buyer that's been in that originally was captured within the last 90 days that has not viewed a property in the past 30 days. So what that means is they were captured 3 months ago, and for the first 60 days, they were searching and viewing properties, but in the last 30 days, they have not viewed anything. That tells me I'm about ready to lose that opportunity. That tells me that they're either searching on some other website. It tells me that they're not engaging with my website. So if we want to increase conversion, what we got to do is decrease the amount of people that we lose engagement. So that one smart list, just that one idea on smart list right there can catch potential losses early in the process. Then you can then say, oh, they've been in my system for 90 days. The first 60 days they were searching on some properties, but in the last 30 days they've searched on nothing. I need to reach out to them. See, that smart list that can show up right on your dashboard, advanced search filter, right on your dashboard, your goal should be every day, look at the list and make sure you get it to 0. Now, the way you can get it to 0 is you can go call them. You can send them links to get them back to your website. You could kick off a workflow. Maybe you text them. Maybe you text them a video. I mean, there's various things. There's numerous things that you can do. But, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds on the 100 ideas that we could do. I want you to understand that leveraging the Real Geeks website to create those smart lists through using advanced search filters will help you improve your conversion. That's what's really important. All right, well, let's continue to go on. There was one. Okay. By the way, before I tell you the next one, just before I forget, if you go to rgmastery.com, this is the website that kind of, I have a coaching company called, or a coaching program called Real Geeks Mastery. And basically what I do in Real Geeks Mastery is me and my one of my staff members who's extremely versed in Real Geeks. She manages over 300 users in around 10 Real Geeks websites. So she's very versed on building websites and using the Real Geeks technology as I am. We get on a call once a week live. We answer your questions. We come with a presentation on how you can better utilize Real Geeks. I actually think Real Geeks is not an expense. I think it's an investment, and it's an investment that all of my clients get a really good return on. And so most people, they will use a website and they feel like, gosh, I'm paying all this, but I don't seem to get any leads, and I don't show up on any search results, or I don't know how to set up these filters and whatnot. We do all that for you. We give you all that information. We show you. Matter of fact, we're going through a process now where later on in this week, we're going to take somebody's website, one of our clients' website, coaching clients' website with Real Geeks. We're going to access it as an admin live on screen, and we're going to do an audit of that website, and we're going to show, hey, here's all the things that you could do or do better, or maybe clean up or delete, that could help you optimize your website and help you get it ranked on Google so you can start getting some organic leads. So if you're interested in just checking it out, there's no contract. It's low cost. It's it's a live call every week, and every one of them's recorded. So there's over 100 recordings of tutorials and videos that I've done on certain subjects. Just check us out, rgmastery.com. All right. So the next one on increasing buyer conversion is set the appointment in the first sentence. You get a new lead. They opt in. You see that lead. You call them. You got to call them, because you're not going to be that successful at setting an appointment through an autoresponder, a text, or an email. The hierarchy would be you're more likely to set it if you call them. And the next one would be you're likely to set an appointment if you text them. But through an email or an auto response or whatnot, probably not that likely. And I think it's going to be important to set more appointments, because we need those buyer agency agreements to be signed on the front end now. It's important that we understand that. Let's get those buyer agency agreements signed. So where are you going to get them signed? You're going to get them signed if you set an appointment. Whether you do a buyer consultation in your office, if that's your strategy, or whether you do a buyer consultation right in the front of the first house that you show, you'll choose your strategy. But at the end of the day, you need to get to the appointment. So my suggestion to increase buyer conversion is by increasing buyer appointments. So your lead capture to buyer appointment ratio must go up, and you can get that number to increase if you just simply say, hey, John, hey, I appreciate you, checking out my website, and I've got some good information on the property that you inquired about. But before I get started on that, I'm just kind of curious, are you interested in taking a look at that property later on this afternoon, or maybe sometime tomorrow? You see how in the first sentence, I'm automatically asking if they want to see it. You do that, your appointment ratio is going to go up. If your appointment ratio goes up, your conversion ratio is going to go up. The third one, speed to lead. Oh, Greg, we've heard speed to lead. That's such an old idea. You know why we've been talking about speed to lead for so long? Because no one's listening. No one's following the coaching. We're going to continue to talk about speed to lead as coaches because agents aren't listening. They're not actually taking it into their practice and doing it. But here, the consequences of not getting to the lead with speed have just increased tremendously. The consequences are, if you're not the first to contact, you won't be the first to contract. Now, what contract am I talking about? I'm talking about the buyer agency contract, the agreement. If you're not first to lead and you're not first to contact, you won't be first to the appointment. You won't get that contract signed. You don't get that contract signed quickly with a buyer, then you can call that lead for the next month, 2 months, finally get them, and then you're gonna have to ask them this question. I'm just kind of curious, did you already sign an agreement with another agent? And they're gonna say yes, because somebody else beat you to it. So the penalties for being last to the lead are gonna be almost like the death penalty. So I actually believe speed to lead is going to get better in our industry, because if the for those that don't, they won't get a second chance. See, in the past, if you didn't get them the first day, you had a second chance the next day and the next day. Now everybody's going to be rushing to get to these leads, and you're not going to get a second chance. You want to increase buyer conversion? Be the fastest to the lead. The next one, you got to narrow the gap in follow-up. So, you talk to somebody, you get communication, somebody emails you, somebody texts you and says, no, I'm really not interested right now. I'm just kind of looking. Okay, great. Well, when you get somebody like that, the question becomes, do you actually put them in your system and already assign assign a new task? Or do you put them in your calendar to actually, or do you put them in there as an activity? I'm just taking a note here. Please forgive me. Do you actually add an activity to call them back in a week, in a month, in 2 months? Or do you not? Do you actually say, gosh, they don't sound too serious. I'll just let them continue to get my email notifications. And if they actually call me, then that's when I'll talk to them. That's what 99% of agents do. They say, okay, well, I'll send you some property alerts. Let me know what I can do for you. And then that's it. They have this big gap between their last communication and their next communication. My coaching to you, in order to improve buyer conversion, is narrow the gap between the last communication and your next communication. If somebody says, I'm not going to do anything for, 3 or 4 months, cool. Don't let the gap be 3 or 4 months. Most of you wouldn't do that, but most of you, you know what you would do? You would say, because there's coaches out there say, cut it in half. I used to be the coach that says cut in half, but now I say, you cut it in fourths. If they say 4 months, you call them in a month. It's not in 2 months. Or you call them in, yes, they say 4 months, you call them in a month. The half rule no longer applies. We have to narrow the gap. If you narrow the gap, then you're more likely to be in the right place at the right time. If we allow the gap to stay broad, we almost seem to be a week late. Narrow the gap, increase your buyer conversion. Now, the cool thing about everything that I'm sharing with you, nothing I'm sharing with you costs money. Because it usually we cannot throw money at something that improves our conversion. We have to throw effort. Typically, if we're going to improve conversion, it will not be solved by money. It'll be solved by activity. So everything here is activities that we can all apply to improve our conversion. The next one here is making sure you assign an activity. Like, always schedule the next appointment before you get off the phone. In other words, you're talking to somebody who says, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do anything for a little while. Okay, well, no worries. So I tell you what, I'm just going to go ahead and put it in my schedule to maybe call you in 2 weeks, just follow up and share with you any new properties that might be coming on the market. Is usually in the morning like this around 10 good, or is there a better time to usually catch up with you on in a couple weeks? And so it may not be an appointment that they actually show up for, that they're waiting for you at 10 o'clock in 2 weeks from now, but it's the conversation. You're setting the expectation. Hey, I'll just reach out to you in 2 weeks. Is 10 o'clock usually a good time to reach you? Or should I try to reach you maybe around, 1 or 2 o'clock, after lunch? Usually the mornings are good. Okay, well, great. Well, you can count on me to reach back out to you, say in the next, 10 to 14 days. Sound good? Yeah, that's fine. and then put it in as an activity that shows up on your schedule so you can make sure that you keep the flow going. You need to keep the flow here. We need to make sure that we don't forget about leads. And I'll tell you, if they're not in the schedule, if they're not in an activity list, then we probably will not reach them. So you see, if you could use the smart list on the, that I shared earlier, and we're constantly assigning the next time to talk to them in our activity list, we're going to really stay on top of this database. And the lack of buyer conversion is coming from us just not staying on top of our buyers. That's where it's coming from. And then, of course, you've got short workflows. You want to increase buyer conversion? Then I would say this: reevaluate all the workflows. I recently did this and wrote new workflows for Real Geeks for my Real Geeks account, and then I gave them to all of my Real Geeks coaching clients, right? The Real Geeks Mastery clients. But you don't have to do that. You can look at your workflows. I suggest you reevaluate your workflows and just ask yourself, how many sequences does it have? If it has more than 5 sequences, it's probably got very little engagement. And so what I would do personally, you can do what you want to do, but if you want to increase buyer conversion, I would say shorten all of your workflows to 3, no more than 5 sequences. I know we want to set it and forget it. I know we'd like to build out a workflow that'll last for a year and do all the work for us. It's not working out. If you look at that, yes, you may say there was a success story, but there will not be nearly as many success stories on workflows like that than if they're short workflows that only like 3 to 5 sequences over a few day period of time. That gets the highest engagement. That's where you're getting 60, 65, 70% engagement off of those types of workflows. And if we can stimulate engagement, then we're going to increase conversion. So I think that was number 6. Number 7, and please forgive me if you think this is too elementary, but I get to see a lot of Real Geeks users. And I know that people who log into their dashboard every day convert at a higher ratio than people that don't. The data proves it. The agents that I have in my offices and that I coach, and I can look in their systems and I can see, gosh, you know what? They haven't logged into Ruka. They have not even opened up the CRM in the last 4 days. And then I see these other agents, they're logging in every day at a minimum, but usually multiple times a day, or they're always logged in because they're logging in every day. They are closing more business than those that are not logging in every day. It's clear as day that the more you log in, the more that you work it. Now, my suggestion to you is this: make it a new habit that you are going to log into your dashboard every single day and look at your smart list. Make it your habit that you are going to make sure that everyone is saved have searches saved for them and whatnot. Make it a habit to text people links to drive them back to your website. Make it a habit to kick off short-term workflows. Make it a habit to set up more smart lists. And see, if you think about it, if you make those things a habit, guess what else happens? You would have to log in every day. See, those that log in every day end up doing all or some of those activities. And when you log in every day and do all or some of those activities, you convert at a higher ratio. This does not require difficulty. This does not require increased investment. It requires more focus. That's all it requires. I hope you found that helpful. Please, again, If you'd like some additional coaching and allow us to coach you through the changes that are going on in the industry and how that's going to impact our websites, et cetera, check out RG Mastery. You may like it, join us. You may see there's no value, don't join. It's just a low barrier. There's no contracts. It's not that costly, but we believe there's a ton of value. We can help you. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.